So before I share my sermon, I have a reading for you from a book I wrote way back when called The Charge of the Chalice, the Davies Memorial Unitarian Universalist Growth and Diversity Story. Right in the beginning in the chapter titled Returning from the Wilderness, I shared these words. It was the summer of 2001, and I was a recent theological school graduate and had just finished writing the last few pages of my first book when I noticed something. In doing my research, I read something that rocked my world. It was a summary of Unitarian Universalism, its history, principles, and legacy, and could not believe such a religion existed. In fact, I was looking through this book, a religious almanac, and it took me to get all the way to the back of this book, Leo Roston's Religions of America, before I was able to find Unitarian Universalism. And as I said, it rocked my world. All right. As I read the words, tears came down my face. It was manna from heaven, and I ate every word. I examined the few pages over and over until my soul was full. I read about a religion that did not believe in a specific creed, but did have moral principles that upheld the worth and dignity of all human beings. I read about a religion that recognized that there are many truths in life and that each religion has a unique but similar message to share. I read about a faith that respected Buddhists and humanists, Taoists, agnostics, Christians, Muslims, and atheists. I read about a phenomenal religion that asked its adherents to freely find their spiritual path and celebrate the journey. I read about a religion that honored differences, a religion that had historical figures associated with it who were change agents in American history, like Lewis Latimer and Ralph Waldo Emerson and Susan B. Anthony and Isaac Newton and Julia Ward Howe and Paul Revere and Charles Darwin and Florence Nightingale, Benjamin Franklin, Dorothea Dix, Whitney Young, and even David Chappelle, who was raised Unitarian Universalist. And of course, Superman Christopher Reeve. I read about a belief system that almost exactly matched mine. And I said to myself in that wonderful moment, I'm going to be a Unitarian Universalist minister. That was 2001, the moment that I said yes. And I remember the feeling prior to that moment, feeling lonely, feeling like I was this weird guy. Of course, I've learned since that weird is actually pretty cool. But back then, I wasn't sure what was going on. Was I losing my mind? Were there any other people out there who thought like I did, who were open and liberal in their approach, progressive in their values? And I found Unitarian Universalism from a book that led me to my first UU church, where I became a minister. And that started the journey. I needed a fresh start in 2001. And as sort of happens in life, when we need something, it comes. A rebirthing takes place. If you think about your life and you think about all the important blips that pop up in your mind as you think about your life, you will see that all of those are moments of transition, moments of change, moments of transformation. And that's the story of Unitarian Universalism. At its best, it's a religion that embraces change and teaches, as nature does, that death and resurrection is really the only story for us human beings. working through our transitions. Like those Russian dolls that Reverend Anastasia shared earlier, there's a constant unfolding manifesting in our lives. And we must say yes to it, because there is healing balm when we say yes to life. Otherwise, life becomes unpredictable and really unbearable. We say yes so we can live. I am, of course, living this experience literally with the loss of my mom, the matriarch of my family. I'm sure a lot of you've read her obituary on my Facebook page. It'll be in the post Sunday today. My mother was an amazing woman, and I will forever be impacted by this loss. But on the positive side, your cards, your calls, your texts, flowers, emails, instant messages, they sustained me, they sustained the family as we recover from this big loss. And in some ways, we'll never recover. But I just want to say to you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. As I was writing this message outside on my porch, I marveled at the sound of the cicadas. It was a consistent chime, reminding us it's that time again. Every 13 or 17 years, they find their way to the surface, don't they? They begin their above ground process. And at my house, we have hundreds. I know some people don't have any. I have hundreds of cicadas and even more dead skin. Sometimes it's time to shed that old skin. The cicadas, on one hand, are really nasty. But from a spiritual perspective, that hum, like the sound of Om, has a lesson. In fact, if you look up cicadas, they have long been seen mythologically as a sign of carefree living, as a sign of immortality, renewal, and transformation. And so they are more than timely right now. It's really time for the cicada message. Given the state of our world, given this pandemic, given the wars and the rumors of wars, the arrival is apropos. As spring moves towards summer, nature is reminding us again to live and to let live, to find some joy, amen, to live in those immortal moments, allowing those negative patterns to fall off, to shed from us, so that the new you, the new we, can emerge. We're all burrowing. We were all burrowing for more than a year with the pandemic, but now the masks are coming off more. Winter has passed, and we're now springing forth to new possibilities. That is a quintessential Unitarian Universalist message for me, that we are creating a world together where we can live in a perpetual state of yes. The yes is about realizing those moments in your life when you know that you're okay. The question for you today is, will you say yes? Say yes to what, Reverend John? Yes to what is calling you. Yes to joy. Yes to some hope. Yes to love. Yes to that which is possible. Yes to letting go of that which constrains. Yes to seeing life anew. That was my experience in 2001. Many dark nights of the soul, searching for a home, spiritually speaking. I was lost and unsure if there was a community out there of people who shared similar understandings. And then I found you, you. And that book, Religions of America. I keep the same book that I read all those years ago. I keep it on my bookshelf and come back to this book over and over again. I'll read the description of Unitarian Universalism, and it still resonates today. Friends, our lives are filled with death experiences, losing things, letting things go, and finding new things. When I lost my religion, I knew I wasn't, a traditional literalist Christian. I wasn't sure what I was. I knew I was something divergent. And there were many dark nights of the soul back then. But those dark nights are precursors to many bright days of transformation. This renewal has occurred for me over and over in my life, so I trust the process. And I believe it conspires for me, teaching us to be more resilient and persevering in our quest to live that authentic life. How has this faith challenged you to live an authentic life? Death comes, but life also comes. This is what immortality means to me. Being able to see the eternity of that eternal dance, being able to bounce back. And death came to my mother. But I truly believe that she lives in a larger context of life now. Her end is a beginning. And sickness may come, cancer may come, it came to me, but it also awakened something transcendent. And that is why, come what may, I will keep saying yes, because as Theodore Parker says, there are transience and permanence. Heraclitus of Ephesus said, change alone is unchanging, but renewal, repair, and rebirth, they are permanence. Another way of saying it, love is a permanent. And that is truly the only message of this faith, of this church, that love is the spirit of what we do. With all the transient ideas, the dogma, the ideologies, what remains the same is love. And that's why I'm still a Unitarian Universalist. And I will be as long as love is at the center of what we do. And so our central task, I do believe, is to become better lovers. Next week, I'm going to talk more about what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist in this postmodern world, and looking at the theology and philosophy of our faith. But for the rest of this message, I want to share with you why I am still a Unitarian Universalist. I've already said that I am still a UU because of love and our willingness to say yes to life, to living that authentic life. But let me say more. Frankly, I am still a Unitarian Universalist because I have a lot of time invested, 20 years. All those, I wasn't a minister, but most of it, I've been a minister. I know that I have changed this faith because of my presence, and I also know that this faith has changed me, has challenged me to grow in ways I did not expect. I've learned so much more about life and myself because of Unitarian Universalism. And so it's an important part of my life. I've been able to challenge many of my presuppositions and even suppositions. I believe it has made me a better human being, a better and more humane being. And I've come to understand differences and diversity in ways I never imagined. There is no other institutional church like this in America, in the world. If there is, please show me and I will gladly retract my statement. But given the totality of what we are, with our anti-racism, with our LGBTQ, with all that we do, I'd venture to say there are very few institutions like ours. And this faith has allowed me to let go a lot of the fear-based negative narratives that were programmed into me, crap that I learned growing up that I needed to extricate from my system, including a pervasive chauvinism and patriarchy that I continue to work on. How has Unitarian Universalism helped you to grow? If you'd like to post something, please do in the chat, but do keep listening. This faith has its faults. It's not perfect. It's imperfectly perfect, but I challenge you to find another community like this one. And that's why we must cherish what we have. That's why we must continue being generous with our time, talent, and treasure. Because as you know, people put their money and their time and their minds, their values toward things that matter to them. And if this faith matters to you, then you will do all that you can to help build this beloved community. What can you do to help grow this faith into a wiser, stronger community? What can you do for yourself that will help you grow into a wiser, stronger, healthier individual? As I close, I want to say this. One thing that is strange about Unitarian Universalism, Unitarian Universalists, is that many of our people come to church to figure out ways to fix other people. Have you noticed that? We are peculiar that way. You don't see that in other denominations so overtly. In most congregations in America, people go to church to grow their souls and learn how to be and live more responsible lives, and to ask for forgiveness and to humbly submit themselves to something larger than themselves. And we do all of that. But too often, it seems in Unitarian Universalism, we come because, they're messed up and we need to fix them, and, they need to change. And it's really not a healthy practice. And if you're not coming to a congregation, to a community to learn and grow and to add and to challenge it, certainly, but to first and foremost focus on yourself and your needs and your own growth, then I actually think you can do more harm than good. So I think part of being a Unitarian Universalist is humility. It's remembering that we have to harness our ego sometimes. And remember that we're all connected, that Unitarian Universalists see the world as an interconnected whole. Yes, we're individuals, we individuate, but we are a collective organism. So even if we're totally right and our position or stance is right, always important when community is at stake. Something to ponder. I want to summarize as I close. I said yes to Unitarian Universalism 20 years ago in a very emotional moment. And I'm so grateful I did. I don't regret that decision any. But I did not choose this faith to do social justice, even though I know it's important. I did not choose this faith to save the planet. I know that's important work. I chose it because I needed a place for myself and my family to grow our souls. And in the process, I found my career. I found my life's mission. And in this career, there have been many ups and downs. In my membership as a UU, in my job as a UU, there have been many ups and downs. But for the most part, the spirit of generosity and love has sustained me. I believe there is still an abundant love in Unitarian Universalism, and I want this faith to survive and thrive. Friends, I'm a UU because I'm invested in the future of our faith, in the present and future. I think this faith makes a difference in the world. And so I want this religion to survive in the years ahead. I want it to thrive. I said that. I'm a UU because it gave something important to my life. And I'm still a UU because it calls me toward being my best self. It reminds me that I'm connected to all sentient beings, even the most destructive ones. Hard work. I'm still a UU because it asks me to go deeper and to be accountable for my ideas and my actions. I'm still a Unitarian Universalist because it is a community striving for authenticity. I'm still a Unitarian Universalist because it gives me meaning and purpose. Why are you still a Unitarian Universalist? How did this faith save your life? When the answers come to you, say yes. Say yes. I will answer the call. I will give it my all. Say yes. Amen.